Kindergarten Daf Mesech Sotah Daf Mem Zayin. We begin on the bottom line of Mevam Beis. The Gemara continues the discussion from the story with Elisha, where because he wasn't escorted, therefore he got provoked by these children, and therefore he killed out many kids. And that's what the Gemara says why it's so important to have this levaya, which is obviously related to the Egla Rufa, which is this parak, because the Ziknei Bezdin say that, Ziknei Oisir say, we didn't kill him. Oh, you killed him. Oh, we didn't let him go without escorting him. This corresponds because of any time today's daf. So that's some ideas discussed in today's daf are what's called shleish chinusein. There are three types of grace, that favor that people have because it's theirs. What happens if nimtza hayri? So we say that you don't know who killed this person, so you do the egla rufa. Obviously, if you know the murderers, you would just execute the murderer. What happens if you find the ritzech either before or after the arifa? What do you do now with this egla? Because you already know who the murderer is now. Egla rufa is by another halacha that the egla rufa is forbidden to have enough from it. And the reason is because kaparik sibakakachim, it says the word kapara, which like karbanis, which is has isana. The question is, however, at what point does the egla become aser to say that it's like a carbon now, and then it's aser? Nedifa ha'egla, what happens if, like we said, if you decapitate the cat and then you find the murderer, still harizi harg, you're still going to execute the murderer, even though you already did the whole procedure of the egla rufa, which is already kapara. Now, regarding egla rufa, idechad is mehemen. If he knows the ritzech's identity, so therefore they're not going to bring egla rufa, because a guy knows who it is, even though he's an idechad. Also, several changes that occurred as the generation declined. They would butl egla rufa. They stopped the egla rufa. Paska ma'amadim. They stopped the bitter waters that the Sotah drinks. And Rabbi Shloimy stopped these things, as the Gemara will explain the reason why he stopped these halachas. So beginning the current Daf Memvam Beis, finishing up the discussion from the previous Daf regarding the story with Elisha, because he wasn't escorted that he killed the kids. So it says over there in the pasuk that it came out, these two bears from the forest, Vatevakano mehem, and the bears ripped open from them, Arbam of Shnei Yoladim, 42 kids were killed. So continue to have Zayin and Aleph, Rabbi Shmuel, two different interpretations. Chadam and Nes, one says there was a miracle. The Chadam says Nes B'Teichnes, the other one says it was a miracle within a miracle. What happened? Mandam and Nes, the one that says it was a miracle, Yarhav, there was a forest right over there behind Elisha, but Doivim Lahav, there were no bears. So a miracle happened, these bears came out. Mandam and Nes B'Teichnes, the other one says a miracle within a miracle, Yarhav, there was no forest. Doivim Lahav, there was no bears. They made a forest, and then bears coming out of the forest. Says Gemara, why do you need this miracle within a miracle? Why don't you just make beers without a forest? What does the forest do that you're calling it a miracle? Says Gemara, no, because the be'isi, the bears would be afraid to provoke the kids when they're not close to their home base to run away and to hide. But when they're close to a forest, then they go out confidently. So the miracle had to include making a forest, like when these artists they draw and out of the drawing comes out whatever. You have to make the forest so that the bear feels comfortable to then kill the kids. Now, Amr Chanina, it says, because of the 42 sacrifices, as we find in Parshas Balak, that Balak, the king of Moab, sacrificed. So Huvkum Yisrael, that's why we're split open from the Jewish people. 42 children. Says, is that really so? It says the famous teaching, the person should always toil in Torah mitzvahs, even though he's not doing it for the sake of Hashem himself or the Torah itself, because when you do it not for its sake, it comes to do it for its sake. Where do you know that idea from? Because in the reward of the 42 kabbanas that Balak the king of Moab sacrificed, so that was Shaloi Lishma, obviously. He merited the upcoming Yom Tov, that out of him came Rus, which from Rus came out David HaMelech, Sheyatzim and Shlomo, which came out Shlomo, who he sacrificed all the karbanas. He's the one that built the Beis Hamikdash. So obviously that this was his reward. Shekasa Bey, that it says over there, Melachim Aleph, Elef Oilis, Yala Shlomo, the Shlomo went and sacrificed 1,000 Oilis. And Amar B'Yisim and Chayni says, Rus, she was Bita Shel Eglon, the daughter of Eglon, was Benoi Shel Balak, was the son of Balak. So, wait a second, didn't you say that from the 42 karbanas, you had a descendant that brought all these karbanas, even though Shalal Lishma came to Lishma, which was Shlomo HaMelech? But, so why are you saying that because of that were killed the 42 kids? He says, yeah, but Tavas Emila Kalala Haba. His desire when he brought these karbanas was to curse the Jewish people and to diminish them. So that kavana was fulfilled over here. So very interesting. There's the Maisa and there's the Kavana. In the Maisa was Shalei Lishma, Bo Lishma, was the schus that he had an Einik like Shlomo Melech. But the Kavana, the intent was to curse. That Kavana was fulfilled in the 42 Jewish boys that were killed. Now, it said previously in the story with Elisha, it says that Vayimru Anshe Ir al Elisha. The people of the city said to Elisha, Hinina Moshe ve'ir toiv. The settlement of the city is good, Kasha Adoni Raya, like my master sees, V'gaim, etc. But what did they complain about? The story says, V'amayim Muram, but the water is bad, but it's Meshakeles, and the earth causes losses. Now, question says the Gemara, if you're telling me that the water is bad and the earth can't hold on to anything, so why are you telling me that this is a good city, but the water is bad and the land is bad? Everything is bad. What's looks to good? Says the Gemara, a very important lesson. Amr Reb Chanan says, his name is Reb Chanan. The favor of a place is on those who live over there. Even if it's bad, it seems to them good. Oh, it's given the Altaheim, it's given the Lower East Side, in Russia, in Ruslan, whatever. They find favor for them, even if it's terrible. There's a certain favor on the person where he lives. Rabbi Yochanan says there's actually shloisha chinusim. There's actually three types of grace, of favor that there is. You have chen mokam al yeshvav. You have the grace of a place on those who live over there. That's why you see people live in certain ghettos and certain places. Like it's just they find their comfort. It's a certain grace in their eyes. You have chen isha. You have the favor of a woman that's always al bala on her husband, even if she's disgusting, she still finds favor in her husband's eyes. And chen mekach hamekachai, or as some have the girsa, al loikchai, the favor of a purchase on the one who bought it. He likes it. So that was interesting. Even if it's inferior, even if she's unattractive, even if the place is inferior, there's a certain grace, and therefore they said, the plot store is good, but the vas is terrible and the ads is terrible. But, they said it's an ira type. Now, in a related vein, talking about in the Brisa, meaning regarding the story with Elisha, going back to him again. So Shleisha Chaloin Chal Elisha, talking about the number 3, but also regarding Elisha, there's 3 illnesses that Elisha had, that he was sick. One was for the sin that he provoked the bears to attack and to kill those children. Another one was because his attendant Gichazi, he rejected him with totality. He pushed away Gehazi. And the third illness was the one that he died from. Elisha had the sickness that he was going to die from. So like Rashi explains, Chala is 1, Eschalya is 2, and the one, Asher was the third one. In the Brisa, a very important lesson. It should always be with the linker hand, with the weaker hand. The left hand that a person should push away, and the right hand should bring near. Not like Elisha, that he pushed away Gehazi with both hands. And not like Yeshua ben Perachia, that he pushed away one of his students, which the side of the Gemara brings that it was censored out, but this refers to Yeshoy Hanatzvi, that he pushed away one of his students with his 2 hands. Don't do that. Don't push away the students, even if this is someone that's difficult, that's alamine, zachen. Don't push him away with both hands. It says about Elisha Mahi. What is this referred to? Elisha. So it's in the pasuk Malachim Beis. So Naaman said to Gehazi, who had this leprosy, and he was thankful that he was healed. It says, take these 2 talents of silver. And it says, so Elisha said to Gehazi, Loi libi halach, my heart didn't go with you. Kashahafach ish, like this man, Naaman, turned, me'al markavtoi likrasecha, from his chariot to greet you. Ha'is lakachas is a kestav lakachas begadim. You think it's time to take money now? To take clothing now? V'zeis makramim and olives and vineyards? Between the bakar and flock and cattle? V'avon shvachas and servants and maidservants? Without my will? So the Gemara says, wait a second, mishakal kulehai? Did Gehazi take so much from Naaman? In that pasuk, he mentions 8 things. Kesef, begadim, tzayin, baka, avod, mishvachas, zeisim, kramim. What do you mean? Kesef, begadim, hu deshakal? He only took clothing and money. like a pasuk of Yitzer ki karaim kesef b'shnei charitim, and shnei chalifis begadim. So why is the Rebbe giving him, mustering him out for so many things that he took when he only took 2 things? So remember Yitzchak, he says, Ba'isa Shah, at that time, Elisha Isik b'shmoyne shiratzim. Elisha was, the Rebbe was learning the sugya of shmoyne shiratzim, which is in Masechta Shabbos, Perek shmoyne shiratzim. Amalei said to him, Rasha, he says to the Talmud, wicked one, you think it came time to take the reward of your Torah in this world, of shmoyne shiratzim, of the 8 shiratzim? So he told him 8 types of like rewards that they could be, mit Geld, mit this, dus will a Talmud in Yeshiva Boche, geht weg. And then, he only took 2 things, but he mustered them out for 8 things because they were learning shmoyne shiratzim. So the pasuk says, "V'tzaras nama tidbek bach." He cursed him. He said, "Let the tzaras of Naaman that was healed, let that be connected to you, uv'zarachal oil man in your descendants forever." Now it says later on that v'arba noshim hoyim etzarim. There were 4 men that had tzaras. Rabbi Yochanan says Zekechazi shlosh banim. This refers to Gechazi, and there's 3 sons because of the curse of his Rebbe Elisha. Now it says later on, and the gear says actually not by Yelich but by Yavai, Elisha Damascus. Elisha came to Damascus. Lama halach, why did he go over there to Damascus? And Rabbi Yochanan says Shahalach lechazir legechazi b'tshuva. He went to bring his Talmud, his old Talmud Gechazi, back to repentance. But he didn't do tshuva. Amalei says to him, Gechazoybach, return to you. Amalei says, Kach mekablan memcha Rebbe. Suddenly they remember all the teachings when it comes to fasting. What do you mean? This is what I received from you. Shtayt, whoever sinned and caused the public to sin, they don't give him the opportunity to do repentance. Says what did he do? That it was choyti and machti. Some say eben shoyabes, a drawing stone, which is a magnet that lifts up metal from the ground. He was tolo lelechatzes Yeravim. Yeravim ben Nevat was a choyti machti. He brought these calves as like avodah zara. He had it suspended. And he had it standing between heaven and earth, and people thought, "Oh, a getchke." And some say that actually Shem Chakak La Puma, he actually carved out in it the name of Hashem in its mouth, and it was saying, "This is what the Avodah Zarah was saying, me, and there should be no other ones that you should serve." So he was Chayti Machti Yisrael. Some say that actually Rabban and Docha Mikabei, that actually he used to push away the Talmidim from in front of Elisha when he would serve his Rebbe Elisha. The Chiluk says in the pasuk that after Gechazi left, it says the pasuk Melachim Beis v'Yomi b'nei Hanavim el Elisha, the sons of the prophet said to Elisha, which means the Talmidim, Hinei na hamokim, here behold the place Hashanachnu Yeshim Shem Lefanecha that we sit in front of you, Tsar Mimenu. It's very tight now because all the students started coming because Gechazi used to push them away. Obviously, that up until now, it wasn't tight. There was given plots during the base measures. Suddenly, the gab is out, and everyone's mishtip. That was his punishment. There was machti sarab, didn't let people learn from the Rebbe. Okay, that was with Elisha. Yeshua ben Perachim, what's this with Yeshua ben Perachim that he pushed away his student with 2 hands? So the story goes, when Yane HaMelech was killing all the rabbis, like the Gemara says in Kedushin of Samachvav Medalev, so Shimon ben Shetach was one of the Rabbanan, Atminu Achase. His sister hid him. And Shimon ben Achia also he ran away to Alexandria in Egypt. Now Kabashalma, when there was peace, when he stopped killing all the rabbis, so Shimon ben Shetach sent to the Shimon ben Achia. It says, "Mini Yerushalayim Eir HaKodesh," from me, Yerushalayim, the holy city, Loch Alexandria Shalmatzam, to you, Alexandria of Egypt. Achisi, my sister, Bali, my husband, Shadu B'Teichech, is dwelling amongst you. Meaning because Rabbi Shimon ben Achia was the Nasi, as the Gemara says in Chagigah Daf Zayin and Beis, so he's called the Baal. He's amongst you, and I'm dwelling desolate. So when Rabbi Shimon ben Achia got this message, he said, obviously now there's peace back in Yerushalayim. So Kiasa, when he was coming back, he went to a certain motel, and they got up and they gave him an appropriate amount of honor, which first when he entered they gave him honor, and then at the end that they did for him a great honor when he was there. Now Yosef so Yeshua ben was sitting and he was praising how beautiful is this hostess, which Rashi has in his Divrei Maschil added word Yafa, which could be part of the Maseha, meaning her actions are nice. But either way, it sounded like he was praising how beautiful is the hostess. So one of his students, which again it seems like it was censored out, Yesha Hanatzri, he said, Rebbe, My teacher, Einea Trutis. What do you mean? Her eyes are round. She doesn't have beautiful eyes. Let's look at that she's beautiful. Amalei said to him, Rasha, wicked one. This is what you're engaged in. You're looking at a married woman? Apik Arba Meshipuri. He took out 400 shayfraras blowers. Vishamten excommunicated him. This Talmud, Yesha Natsri, every single day would come in front of the Rebbe. But they didn't accept him. One day, one day, the Rebbe, Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, was saying Shema. Yesha Natsri came. The Rebbe today, he had in mind he was going to accept him back. He showed him with the hand that he's going to accept him. The Talmud thought, with the hand. It's like, like as if he's pushing him away. Also, he went Zakav Lebenase, he stood up a brick, and Palcha, he worshipped that brick. Amalei said to him, Chazarbach, do tshuva. Amalei said, this is the tradition I have from you, after this, whoever sins and causes the public to sin, they must be miyod last but they don't give an opportunity to repent. Because the Amamar, like the master says, that this Yesha HaNatzri, Kishif, he did sorcery, Vehesis, he seduced people to do Avodah Zarah, V'dichi, he pushed cities to do Avodah Zarah, V'echtes Yisrael, and he caused the Jewish people to sin. So therefore, he's telling him, Shiva. Now, similar idea regarding don't push with both hands. Tanya Linda, Bryce, Rabbi Shimon Lazar, says Yetzer, a person's own Yetzahara, his inclination, and Tinnik, a young child, V'isha, and a woman, push only with the left. V'yamin mekarebes, but the right should bring near. Which, as Rashi explains, when we say the Yetzahara, we mean that of tashmish, of desiring intimacy. You should actually bring it close with the right hand. Don't be disgusted with pidivirivya, because it's arayis, no, you should bring it near because the world depends on it. So to a child, because if you push him away with the right hand, he might run away and he might be ma'abras asmechal, she might commit suicide. And a woman, she also has dai tekala, and if you chase her, she might go out to tar bisra, to terrible ways, and therefore only with the left hand, not with the right hand. Don't do a complete rejection. Now look at the next Mishnah. Nimtza hahoidig. Let's say you find the murderer, achle nerfa egla, before the calf was decapitated. Okay, then teitzer b'tidabeda. You let it go out and graze in the flock like all other unconsecrated animals, because as Rashi points out, this Tana does not hold this that we say in many places that the egla rufa becomes forbidden even when it's still alive. Even just bringing it down to nachal esin already makes it forbidden. Which the Gemara Masechtas Krisis explains this in Machlekes Tanoim in the last paragraph within Daf Chafim and Alf. Our Tana holds that no, up until it's decapitated, it's not going to be forbidden. Now, let's say missioner fegla. Let's say you find the murderer after the calf was already decapitated. So to cover b'mekaima, you bury the calf in its place because shal safik basam etchalasa. From its inception, the calf is coming because of a doubt. So kippur sveka. So when it's decapitated, it atones for the doubt, and it accomplished its goal. So if you didn't find the murderer, so that would atone for the doubt. Now when you find the murderer, so okay, now we know definitively we're going to execute him. But this Isra Hana of the Egla Rufa was fulfilled because, like it says, the word kapara, like by kachim, and therefore it's already forbidden once you did decapitation. Now let's say nerfa egla of achkach nimsahar. Let's say you decapitated the calf and then you find the murderer. So harizi harg. Says the Mishnah, you're going to execute the murderer. What happens if eidach omer reisi esahar? Let's say one witness says that, oh, I saw the murderer. Eidach says there's two different stories. Either lo reisa or lo reisi. I didn't see, or like you didn't see. So we have a contradiction. Did he see? Did he not see? Isha medes reisi. One woman says I saw. Isha medes lo reisa. Another woman says no, you did not see. So it's still a suffix because one against one. So you're really back to status quo. So they would decapitate the calf. Let's say one witness says I saw. And two witnesses you did not see. So they would decapitate again because two are saying you didn't see. Obviously, we're not believing the one that says he saw. But let's say two say we saw. And one says you didn't see. Then they wouldn't decapitate because they know who killed him, and there's two witnesses. So even though he's not right here to judge him, but you don't do the egla rufa then, which actually relates to the next idea. When there was an increase in murderers, so batla egla rufa, they then stopped the halacha of the decapitated calf because people knew who the murderers were. These were the regulars, the mobsters. And Mishabah Eliezer ben Dinai and V'tchina ben Perisha, his name was Tchina ben Perisha, maybe that was his street name. Chazal Kreise ben Aratzchen, they started calling him the murderer's son. Again, they knew who the murderers were, and therefore they stopped having the egla rufa. So too, Mishurab HaManafim, when adultery started becoming in vogue. So Pascha Mayim Amarim, they stopped the bitter waters. And Rabbi Mizaki stopped them. Shlomo says the Pascha Neisheya. Lo yefker al b'nei seichem ki nena. I'm not going to count as on your daughters when they're going to commit adultery. V'akal seichem ki nafena, and on your daughter-in-laws when they're going to be noyif, meaning on the niyuf of your wives to check them. Why? Because kiheim b'gomer. Because they, what does the etc. say over there? So the pasuk says, because they im hazoinis yiperedu, meaning they themselves are committing adultery like these mules. So since the men are also, so therefore there's no way of having this halach of Sotah anymore. So too Mishemes, we're talking about when certain things stopped in time. So Mishemes Yosef ben Yezer Ish Tzreida, Yosef ben Yehuda Ish Yerushalayim, when they died, Batlo Eshkoilis. So the Eshkoilis stopped. Gemara explains the word Eshkoilis is the word Ish Shahakol Boy. That these were men that they had everything. That up until their days there was no machlekes in the Chachmei Yisrael. They would all say the words as they were given from Moshe from Har Sinai. They were the first ones that there was a machlekes, which was regarding do you lean on the carbon on Yom Tov, the Zemar in the Chagid of the Zayin and Alf. That was the first machlekes, which was in the Jewish people in the words of Torah. So when they passed away, there was no more people that had everything of Torah inside of them. Shlomo says the pasuk in Micha, in Eshkol Echel, there's no cluster to eat. Bikuda ivsa nafshi, the first fig my soul desires, which, like the Targum says, less gever debei ubdin tavin. There's no man that does good. That's what bikura is, that the good fig is that which ripens in its time. That refers to these people of these Yesis that were no more when they passed away.
The reason described as killed was they didn't walk him out of the city. They had to go rob someone. Even though if they know who the staff is, the city that didn't provide them still needs to.
I hear. Yeah, you have to know, take what pshat, that then they wouldn't be liable. It's only when you don't know who killed them. It sounds like that probably that atonement of executing the murderer is already enough of atonement for the city for executing the murderer. They don't have to do the procedure of Eglah Rufa. That's also kapara. Yeah, I hear. I guess, yeah, if not exactly right. It's a good question. So to Yechon Kohen Gadol, he stopped what's called Vida Meiser, the confession of the Meiser, that they shouldn't say anymore Bi'arta Kodesh Ben Abayis, and the Gemara is going to explain the reason why he stopped that. And Afu Bitlasam Oiden, he also stopped the wakers versus Neikfin and the ones who knock, the strikers. The Gemara is going to explain what is that. Tin Tamid Beis, Ad Yamav, up until his days, Hayapatish Makah B'Yerushalayim, the hammer would bang in Yerushalayim, in the anvil would bang in the place of the smiths on Cholash HaMoed, to do a malachas or davar avid that you're allowed to generally do if it's going to be a loss of money, which permit on Yom Tov. He got up and he made a gzeira on the smiths that even by davar avid, because since it's heard so far, not everyone knows the davar avid, as the Gemara says, obviously he stopped that. And also during his days in Tzarech Lishal Demai, no one had to ask regarding demai, meaning if the food is tithed or not, because he instituted that everyone who buys from Amaret should take off meises, so therefore you already knew that it was tithed. Talmud in the Brayso explained the halacha of our Mishnah. I mean, from where do we know Shem Nerfa Egla, that if the calf was decapitated, and then you find the murderer, Shem Patetis is like that we don't let the murderer go free because you already did the Egla Rufa. It says the pasuk in Mid, it says, "Well, artists into the land will not be atoned. To the blood that was spilled over there, only with the blood of the one who spilled it, and therefore you will execute him, even though you already found that you already did the Egla Rufa." Now the Mishnah said, if one witness says, "Oh, I saw the murder," one says not, so we had all these different halachas. So Taima says the Gemara as follows. Sounds like the Makar Shlei, because you have one witness contradicting him. One says, "I saw the murder," one says, "You didn't." So therefore, you'll do the Egla Rufa. Sounds like Holei Makar Shlei. No one contradicts him. And one witness would be believed that he saw the murderer, that you don't do Egla Rufa. Says Gemara, where do we know this from? Says Gemara, the Torah we learned in the Brayso. It says in the pasuk, "Lo noida mihikahu." They didn't know who killed them. Sounds like Sounds like if they know who killed him, even someone at the end of the world recognizes him, that they wouldn't do the decapitation procedure. Kibaymi says, what do we know the Sanhedrin? If you have the high court that they saw someone who murdered someone, but they don't recognize him. That they wouldn't do the arifa. It says in the pasuk, our eyes didn't see, but they did see. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Now that you said one witness is believed, so now that other one, how could he refute him and take him back to status quo? But we know this teaching of Ula, which Rashi says we already explained this previously in the Laman and Beis, and there's no difference over here, so we don't have to go into great detail. We already went through the sugya that wherever the Torah believes one witness, which you're saying the Torah believes one witness over here, we treat him as two. Now the next guy is one, because the Torah doesn't give him explicit regarding that we treat him as two. It's only the guy was that knew versus didn't know. So what? How do you believe the second one to contradict him? Ula would tell you you're right. Tani, you have to actually read it. Lo hayarfen. One against one, they would not do that rifa because we would believe the first one that says he saw the murderer. Rabbi Shloimy says Tani, you have to read it. Lo hayarfen. They would not do that rifa. Now Rabbi Shloimy says no. Tani, like we have in our Gers and our Mishnah, hayarfen, they would do that rifa. So they must say Rabbi Shloimy, Kash Ula. You have difficulty with Ula's teaching. Says more like Kash, no, it's not difficult because Kan, our Mishnah is talking about vas achas. These two guys came at the same time, so we never gave the first guy a halach of two until we verified and ratified what he said. Kan, the teaching of Ula that we believe the first guy like two, and then another guy cannot be believed opposite him, is b'zachazeh when they come at one after the other. However, tonight the Gemara asks on Reb Chia's teaching from our Mishnah. The Mishnah said, one guy says, I saw the murder. Two says, you didn't see it. They would do the arifa. It sounds like only because two are contradicting him. But if one against one, they would not do that arifa. So to Reb Chia, that refutes Reb Chia. Says, well, according to your reasoning, wait a second. I can ask from a different part of the Mishnah. Amos say, but look later on the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that if two say that we saw of aid, one says, no, you did not see. What's the halacha? And they wouldn't do the arifa. Wait a second. That's only because two are saying we saw. Sounds like hachad v'chad, but if it wasn't one against one, they would do the arifa. Well, that contradicts what you're trying to say that they wouldn't do. So Elorada says the Gemara, okay, it's not difficult on anyone. Why? Because masnit nikula b'psuli edus. Our whole mission is talking about by invalid witnesses. Like Nechemia, that he says in any context where the Torah believes one witness, like over here, where the Torah believing one aid, which is not your regular type of testimony, which usually needs two witnesses. So then you go after the majority of opinions. Never they make two women against one man. Like two men against one man, and therefore. That's one version. Those that say a different version. Wherever you have one kosher witness originally come, that no. Then even 100 women is like one man. So wait a second. So what are we talking about over here of two against one? Meaning the Mishnah was saying the one against one are going to cancel. Two against one will believe whether you say that you did see or didn't see. So the first pshat is saying, yeah, no matter if the first one was a man, the second one the women, whatever it is, we're going to believe the majority of opinions. Second opinion says not true, and there's an eight kosher, you won't believe the majority of opinions. Originally a woman came. And you have to interpret Reb Nechemiah's teaching like this. Nechemiah says, whoever believes one witness, you go after the majority of opinions. You make two women against one woman, like two men against one man. But you're right, when there's two women against one man, then they wouldn't be like 50-50. But okay, so therefore that's what the Mishnah talking about. It's not difficult on anyone because we're not talking about regular testimony of one aid that we believe in like two. We're talking about apostle aidis. So that goes after the majority of opinions. But says the Gemara, why do you need two teachings to tell you regarding psuli aidis? Why do you need to say two said we saw and one said you didn't, or one to say you didn't, two to say you, why do you need two against one of either way to say you did see or you didn't see? Says the Gemara, what would you say when you go after the majority of opinions? It's only as a stringency that to say you didn't see, to do the arifa. But maybe as a leniency that not to do it, maybe you wouldn't believe two against one, let's say, because of the halacha of Reiv Deis. That no, even then we're going to go after the majority of opinions, let's say, especially like the first version, that against a man, two women will be believed, even as a kula. Now the Mishnah said, when there was an increase of murderers, they stopped this whole procedure of the egla rufa. So Tzemach Bryce that elaborates on this is when they increased the murderers, but egla rufa, they stopped this whole egla rufa. It only comes from a situation of doubt. Now they know who the murderers are. So once they had these increase of murders out in the open, but like rufa, they stopped the egla rufa. Now it said in the Mishnah, when there was increase of adulterers, so they stopped the bitter waters, the cursed waters. So Tzemach Bryce elaborates on this, It says in the pasuk Imba Midbar. It says V'nika Ishma Oven, the man will be cleansed from sin, and the woman's going to carry her sin. Says the Brisa Bisman She'ish Menukum Oven. Only when the man is cleansed from sin, from adultery, regarding a woman that's forbidden to him, whether from the one that was secluded, whether from a different one, then a mind bite then the water checks his wife. In the Ish Menukum Oven, if the man's not clean from sin, in the mind bite then the water does not check his wife, like it says a pasuk in Hosea. It says, Lo efkel ben nesechem ki siznen b'chulu. I'm not going to count this on your daughters when they're going to mizana, as we brought this pasuk in the Mishnah. It says, what do you need to have this pasuk for? Chitim, you begin to say, no, from the first pasuk, oven the day in. Maybe regarding his own sin, yes. But the b'nei or the bunse, but regarding his sons and his daughters, if they're adulterers, loy, that won't stop his wife from being checked. Tashmas, we have to have this other pasuk from Meshaya, loy efkad, I will not count to check the women. Why? Because your daughters are being mezana. Because your daughter-in-laws are noifim. And therefore that itself will hold back from your wife from being checked. Chitim, we begin to say, okay, maybe only of an ish in, yeah. The sin of adultery with a married woman, yeah. But avoin the penuya loy, but sin of having a relationship with a single woman, that would not be a problem. Tashma, the end of the pasuk says, Kihem im hazaynis yiparedu, because they with the zaynos are like mules. And with the prostitutes, they are slaughtering, etc. Which even with just a zayna, even a single woman that's a zayna is going to make the water's not going to do anything anymore. Now, what's the end of the pasuk say? V'am lo yaven, that the people who don't understand you love it will stumble. So Rabbi Shloimy says, Amalam Nabi Yisrael, the Nabi says to the Jewish people, if you're particular regarding yourself, then the waters will check your wives. But if not, then the waters not going to check your wives, because there's the people who they don't understand, they stumble, and therefore it's not going to do anything to their wives. Now, continue on this theme, when there was an increase of people looking for pleasure, nisavsu hadinim. So the judgments were corrupted, because since people wanted pleasure, so they didn't put themselves through the effort to really look into the halacha, mutter, asr, to rule to the community. And because of that, people's actions became corrupted. And since that, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not have any pleasant aroma in his world, and his world is not pleased with him, because people are looking for other types of hedonistic pleasures. So to Mishrabu Roy Panabidin, when there was an increase of favoritism in regards to judgments of court cases, it stopped the halacha, the pasuk, not to be afraid of an intimidating person. It already stopped people fulfilling the pasuk of don't show favoritism in judgment. They threw off the whole yoke of heaven. They put on themselves the yoke of people versus that of Shemayim. So to Mishrabu, when there was an increase in the whisperers by a court case, those are the lawyers that they whisper with the judges to seduce, to open up to them some type of merit for the client or incriminate the other guy. So that increased Hashem's anger in the Jewish people, because for tilting of judgment, Hashem's anger comes, like it says in Shemais Chabez, so regarding judgments, if there's any type of distortion, Hashem gets angry, but it removes the divine presence, like it says in the pasuk, which at the beginning of the pasuk is like Kim Nitzam Das Kel, so it's talking about regarding a court case, and it says that when is that? And in the midst of God will be judgment. So if there's distortion, then the Shekhinah is not going to be over there. So to Mishrabu, when there was an increase, like the pasuk says in Yecheskel, Achri Bitsam, after their pleasure, Libam Hoylech, their hearts went. Rabbi, that increased what it says in pasuk Yeshai L'da Toiv, that the bad they say is good, which they praise the wicked people. On the good, they say bad. When there was an increase of people saying what's bad is good and what's good is bad, it increased, moaning in the world, because it says the word hoy many times there in that parasha. When there's an increase in those who extend their phlegm, they extend their phlegm. It's a type of gaiva. This guy is going to spit out the phlegm. The Rabba Hayohidim, that increased the arrogant people, and diminished the students. Like the Gemara says in Kedushin and Testament Bay, is a simon for arrogance is a poverty, a paucity of Torah, because Torah requires humility. But Torah Chazeres alam deha, and Torah goes back on those who learn it, meaning Torah is looking, maybe it'll find someone who learns it, and it's hard to find. When there was an increase of arrogant people, so the Jewish girls started marrying these arrogant people, because which is a very scary thing. Our generation, this time is the Gemara, they only see skin deep, they only see what's on the surface. and you look at these arrogant people, guys, mamish, personality or whatever, and he's intelligent or whatever, and a lot of these, it actually happens a lot in today's times also, that the Jewish girls, they get seduced by these people that have that flair to them, and they get stuck with them. Says, is that really so? Or would a woman fall for such an arrogant person? But the master says, whoever's arrogant, even his family members, his wife doesn't like him. Shlomo says the pasuk in Chavakuk, an arrogant person, what does it mean, lo yinva? Lo yinva means even in his own house. Says, yeah, and this is actually what happens. In the beginning, they jump on him. But at the end, he becomes disgusting in their eyes. So they're very attractive, these people, but wait a little bit and see how much shalom bias there is over there. When there's an increase that the judges would invest with the balabatim who know how to do business so they can make some money from their constituents, there was an increase of bribery, tilting of judgment, and stopping of good. When there was an increase of people saying, I got your favor, and I'm strengthening this good that you did for me, meaning some kickbacks. There was increase, like it says in Sefer Shoftim, Isha Yosh Be'einav Yaseh. Every man did what's upright in his eyes, where he sees that the judges are showing him favoritism because the good that he does for him, he's not afraid of him anymore. Shvalim Hugbu, the ones on the bottom are on the top, Gavaim Yushpul, and the ones on the top on the bottom, where there's no more awe anymore of the great ones on the small ones, and you can't tell the difference between those who are high and those who are low. Machusa, and the kingdom of the Jewish people, Azlam and Avla went, and it was just becoming undone. When there was an increase of those who are stingy from benefiting others with their monies, and people who grab and snatch and steal, and these are cold-hearted people from having any compassion on the poor. That increased the hardness of the heart, and people tight-fisted from lending. What it says in passing in Devarim, where it says that be careful to you pen, maybe that it says there's going to be something wrong with your heart, and you're going to say, it's Shemitah, and you're not going to want to lend the guy because you're not going to get your money back. When there was an increase, like it says, in the Tur's garden, the outstretched necks, and they would, with their eyes, they would flicker, meaning the women would flutter their eyes. So that increased the bitter waters, meaning it increased those who were warning their wives, and it should have increased the bitter waters, but they just stopped giving them to drink. Like we said, that the water doesn't check anymore once there's so much adultery going on. When there was an increase of those who received gifts, that diminished people's days, and it minimized their years. It says the one who hates gifts will live. The opposite is also true. When there was an increase of those who they're arrogant of the heart, meaning they don't tilt their ears to hear from their teachers, they rely on their own understanding to be medactic their own teachings. So there was an increase of disputes in the Jewish people. When there was an increase of the students of Hill, that they didn't serve their rebbeim so well, that increased disputes in the Jewish people. But now the Torah became like two different Torahs. When there was an increase of charity of people taking from the non-Jews, the Jews were on the top and they were on the bottom. The Jews were in the inside, they were on the outside, which Rashi says that's a euphemism. Really, it was the other way around. And the Mishnah said, it was Batla Eshkolis. It says Eshkolis. What is Eshkolis? The clusters. I'm going to read the Mishnah. It means Isha Kol Boy, a man that everything is inside of him, meaning Torah in its truth, and there's no confusion, there's no shikha, there's no machlekes. That stopped after the Yosis. Thank you for any time for hosting us.